Hi everyone, my name is Lori Samuels. I'm the Accessibility Director at NBC Universal. I work with all our businesses and brands, including NBC News, MSNBC, CNBC, and NBCU Academy. I'm excited to talk with you about accessibility for news and how to make sure that your stories reach everyone, including people with disabilities. So before we start any conversation about accessibility, I usually like to talk about disability. Disability is part of the human experience. Some of us are born with disabilities. Some of us acquire disability through an accident or injury or an illness. Many of us age into disability, and almost all of us will experience some disability in our lifetimes. Disability can be categorized into some broad categories of sensory, physical or mobility, and cognitive. So what does that mean? Sensory disabilities include things like vision loss or hearing loss. Physical disabilities can include things like mobility issues or limb differences. And cognitive is a very broad category that includes autism, ADHD, dyslexia, certain mental health conditions, and impacts the way that people interact with the world. Disability intersects with every other dimension of human existence, so race, gender, orientation. If you're doing a story in the news on a particular community, consider getting the perspective of people with disabilities within that community. And disability can affect the way that people use technology or consume content or get their news. You might be surprised to learn that more than 1 billion people on the planet, about 1.3 billion people, have a disability. That translates into 1 in 3 households in the United States. As a community, the disability community is the largest minority in the United States, and when combined with friends and family, we're now looking at 53% of the consumer market. So learning about and practicing accessibility is very important to make sure you're reaching everyone in your target audience. So, how do people with disabilities consume their news? Well, like everyone else, but they might be using certain accessibility features like closed captioning to understand the dialogue in a video. They might be using a piece of technology called a screen reader to listen to the content on their app or their website or social media rather than being able to see it. They might be able to see but need to magnify to a high degree to see the text on the screen. They might need to change up the colors of the text against the background. Some people read white or light colored text on a dark background well. Some people prefer to have dark text on a light background. They might be using a keyboard instead of the mouse to move around on a computer, and they might be using their voice to interact with the app or the content. Getting into our tips for accessibility. The first and most important tip for any video content is please make sure you have closed captions. Closed captions are essential for any video with dialogue for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. They happen to be used by a lot of other people as well for a variety of reasons, but they're essential. If you can't hear the dialogue, then you must have those closed captions there. If you're using automated captions, a tool that generates automated captions from the dialogue in the video, just make sure to proofread and correct any errors in the automated captions. They're far from perfect still. And lastly, again, closed captions are very useful. About 80% of the people who use captions on a regular basis are actually not deaf or hard of hearing, but again, they are essential for folks who are. Tip number 2 for accessibility: describe your images. A text description that goes along with an image is essential for people who are blind or low vision. Image descriptions are sometimes called alt text. They're also helpful for SEO or for Google search results and analytics, so they actually improve that on your website. So we're going to take a quick look at a screen reader called VoiceOver that's on the iPhone. If you want to check it out yourself, you can just try the accessibility settings.
VoiceOver on. Settings. Network. Up today. Dateline. NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt. The Rachel Maddow Show.
Android devices also have a screen reader called TalkBack. And then last but not least, we have one more tip for accessibility, which is to make sure that when you're publishing a story in a digital app or platform, that the text has a sharp contrast between the background so that everyone can read it well. Similarly, we also want to make sure that for folks who are colorblind and can't see the difference, for example, between red and green, we put labels on any charts or graphs that are conveying important data or information. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn a little bit about accessibility and how to make sure that our news stories are inclusive and accessible to everyone. Appreciate that. There's so much more to learn on NBCU Academy, so please check out the articles and videos on this site, and thank you again for your time.